The solicitor who represented the case that we're talking about is Tim Lawson-Crussenden, and he's on the end of the phone this evening. Tim, it's a very interesting case. Where do you stand legally, Tim? Is there a lot solicitors can actually do to protect the client or the victim?
Well, hi. The most important step that must be taken, in my view, and this is where we've actually broken to new law, is to get an exclusion zone which prevents the stalker from coming within a certain distance from the person's house. In this particular case we're talking about, the order said that the person couldn't come within 250 yards of that person's house. I think that's very important.
Well, that's fine, Tim, but I mean, often the people you're dealing with don't pay any attention to those sort of things and will just break it. So what happens in that case?
Well, if they break it, then they commit a contempt of court, a contempt of the civil court, and then they're liable to be imprisoned. And in this particular case, the man was in fact imprisoned initially for 3 months, and then he went to appeal, challenged it, and his sentence was reduced to 28 days. But the courts imposed a 2-month suspended term on him, which meant that if he does it again, he's liable to go straight away to prison for another 2 months.
Can the victims turn for help to the police? Are they enlisting you? Will they get involved in what presumably is a domestic case?
Well, the police are very helpful, but I think they're subject to very severe budgetary constraints, and therefore they're quite reluctant to get too embroiled. But in this particular case, the policemen were helpful. They did install a video camera on the victim's door. They were able, therefore, to process video evidence and to help with that. In the final analysis, they take the view it's a civil matter, and it's a matter for the civil courts. And unfortunately, therefore, anyone who is being stalked has either got to get legal aid or has got to fund legal expenses herself, and that's obviously expensive and worrying.
Now, you are a solicitor, but you actually are one of those solicitors who can actually operate in the High Court, and as you insinuated, this did make legal history. In what sense did you make legal history?
Well, it was the first decision by the Court of Appeal which stated that the courts can impose an exclusion zone to stop a stalker from coming within a certain distance of a person's house. And before that decision, it was thought that the exclusion zone could only be imposed if there had been a previous relationship with the stalker, i.e. you'd been married to him or you'd cohabitated with him.
So an individual who you do not know can be told to stay a set distance away from your home or work, can they?
Yes, the order can be made, and obviously the judge making the order has got to weigh up the circumstances of the case very carefully. He's got to balance the rights of the victim to live peacefully and to live free of fear against the rights of the alleged stalker.
What do they consider a reasonable distance away from the victim?
Well, that depends on the facts of the case and depends on the particular locality in which the person lives. But I mean, the widest order is probably about 250 yards. That's the normal order in London, and that will cover most streets in London if you're you're in the middle of the streets. I haven't seen orders that are wider than that. It could be less.
Tim Lawson-Crussenden. Tim, thanks for joining us as well. If you've had experiences, if you've had family and friends who've had problems with stalkers,